and welcome to My Heart Remembers. This is, I'm very excited today, and there's many reasons, but my guest today is the top of that list, but I'm going to say that there's a little bit of a topper. Stu, a dear friend and somebody who I really have a lot of admiration for, sent us, My Heart Remembers, a message today saying that he truly loves the show and thanks us for bringing, some awe and wonder to the day. And I'm just like totally ecstatic about hearing from someone. Anyone out there, you want to send me a message? I'll probably read it. No, I will. I will, absolutely. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, today we have been very blessed to have with us I know I'll say the name is Hearty White, but we're going to say Miracle Nutrition is a radio show that you can also get online if you want. I mean, that's my best way because I don't live in the radio area. And I just, it's an important show to me. I love it. And I have my reasons for that. Not that they're true. And I'm going to make some noise here and introduce Hearty White.
Yay.
Yay.
That was a good intro.
You inspire me. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, I hope it is to make random noises too, to make joyful people.
Yes.
I do that shamelessly. I figured, it's a legitimate part of entertainment too. I mean, you can't, especially when you're speaking, sometimes you can lull them. The sound of your voice can become hypnotic. And sometimes you need to, clap or yell or something.
Jump up and down and
exactly.
And I'm never good at screaming, so I
can't scream. I've done a lot of recording, right? So sometimes you ask people, okay, we need you to scream. And it's so funny. Some people are absolutely not capable of it. They just can't do it.
You discovered that. That's me.
Yeah, but I can't do it either.
I want to.
I'm screaming. No, you're not.
That's it. I know. That's not a scream. Oh, right. I need a higher whistle in my scream.
There's some young children that can scare monkeys with their shrill. There's frequencies I can't even hear.
I know, but I kind of love it.
They do it when they're playing.
I love hearing it.
But I recorded something in my backyard, and you'd mentioned hearing them. And the children, when they play, sometimes they make these blood-curdling screams.
Yeah.
And I love it because in any other, you just can't do that as an adult. Like, even if I was having a really fun time in my backyard, if I screamed like somebody was cutting off my leg, somebody would call the police. And that, to be helpful, not in an angry way.
Oh, wait.
Like he's having his leg cut off.
So it's slowly programmed out of us. I could maybe... it's gone. Where is it? I have a song called Spirit Walk. And I say if I could scream, I would feel them walking through me. That's part of the piece. So it's one of my favorite songs. I should send you a copy of it because it's pretty wild. And on that children thing is music for me. And you've been doing bass online for people. And by the way, you're amazing.
Oh, thank you.
I don't know if you know that.
I don't. It's not a word I use to self-describe, but that's fine.
Okay.
If you want to think that, I'm all about appearances.
Well, I'm not alone. I'd shown it to Daxie as well, and she's the one who also, because I was just like, "Whoa, this is amazing," and then Daxie's like, "Wow, that's wonderful," and it's more, I think one you were just you said, "Well, I'm just going to rehearse here."
Yeah. I just I like, I don't know. I like music, and the older I get more, this is weird. It should work the opposite, but I'm more eager to learn.
Oh, yeah. Well, how long have you been playing music, approximately? 30, 40? It's been 50 years for me, by the way.
40 some, 40,
okay.
45. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Bass probably 40. This is my first instrument, was the bass.
Yeah. Okay. But back to that, where you want to learn more. It's almost like, for me, it's like I have only stepped in the door sort of with music, and there's like a never ending place of learning. And at the
Oh,
same,
there's always
yeah.
something for you to do too. Because I mean, I was playing a type of music when I was young where you almost should stop learning.
Oh,
You
okay.
know what I mean?
Okay. Just
Well,
stop
if you
now.
want to play, no, well, if you want to
No, I
play,
get you.
if you want to play in certain genres, right?
Can you name one of them that kind of?
Well, just a lot of like really basic, like punk kind of real, like rock, certain kind of rock and roll. If doesn't welcome
Oh, it
or
doesn't
need
appreciate.
virtuosity.
It
Well, it's just
doesn't.
it's
Yeah.
unnecessary. It isn't what it is, right? So it's like like folk music for me encompasses like the music that people like folks play,
Oh,
but
no, no, no. There is a band
but that can
that.
be anything. That can be rock and roll or
Yep.
anything. But there's a certain kind of like we all can do it music.
There's like a level of it though that is like really phenomenal, and oh my goodness, it goes into what I was working in, what they call freeform jazz, right?
Well, yeah. Well, see,
And
that's the thing. So you can start your instrument. There's like a genre and a band for every stage of your learning, right? So
no.
when you start, you learn 3 chords or something on guitar. You can actually play a lot of songs. You can play with a band even,
Oh, okay. As
and then
soon as you get the
as you get
guitar,
better,
that is it, right? You do definitely. I'd agree. There's like three
and
chords.
then
You
you
learn
move
them.
around, and then there's other types of music that where that involve
I played
more
orchestral,
sophistication.
right?
Yeah,
So you
so well,
have to
that's
kind of spend time on a bunch of exercises. And then when you
sure.
really go, you actually find people you can just jam a theme on, which is originally what they would do a long time ago. They
Yeah.
stopped doing that for a long time. When I started playing music, they didn't have this where you just play on the theme and allow yourself to kind of fall into it and then get familiar with it. You had to kind of, if you wanted to do that, you'd have to do it on your own. Like, it was strict. Here's the piece of music and here's how it
Hmm.
fits. And I'm like, no, it's an entire universe. Like, when I'm in it, it appears around us, right?
Yeah.
and and you're told something different, which is kind of cruel, I think. To Because then I've met people who are so stuck in that thing they can't get out of it. They can't play without a piece of music in front of them. They don't even know how to play notes, on their own. It's pretty,
Well,
yeah,
there's it's funny that we were just talking about screaming
yeah,
because some of improvising and screaming there's related things, letting go
yeah.
or letting go of self-consciousness as a way of being creative. And the children when they play are able to abandon their self-consciousness and submerge into a type of play that's like very realistic, right? So they allow themselves to feel like outsized things, and then
And it's
as
healthy to have
it's
around
great.
you,
And then as we get
right?
older, we get more self-conscious, right? And
Yep.
you can't really use that, let that, the part of your brain that sort of keeps you from um, making a fool of yourself, and you need it actually. But
Well, for
you should,
safety's sake.
yeah, exactly. Or just to socialize too, because you shouldn't, there's a lot of things you
Well,
shouldn't.
there's okay.
But
Most of the time, it's just for socializing. But
right,
yeah,
right,
sometimes
right.
for
That's fine.
safety.
I'm all
Shut
for
your
that.
mouth.
Both. They're,
Don't yell back at this person who's yelling at you
exactly.
right now. Just calmly say, okay, no
But sometimes you
problems.
need to override it,
Don't
and
hit them.
you want to be impulsive and inventive, and you don't want to think. You want it to come from deeper and override that, and and that's an improvisation and things like that, and that's why you can teach it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can teach, because you can tell it's a thing that people just have to kind of get over.
It absolutely is. And I've had some great adventures working with new people who already do it, but we haven't, say, worked together before. And one of my
Mhm.
favorite ones was this young German fellow who was here in Canada working as a scientist, but he played as well. And he did freeform on his bass, by the way, live at a show. And we were doing freeform, myself and Everett Zoo. We're just playing, and we did our rendition of Stairway to Heaven, which of course included I Love Peanut Butter. That was really what the piece was. And so it was just wonderful. Anyway, he came to visit us, and as soon as he picked up his instrument, he wanted to play some strict things, right? Really strict, really, really. So he trying to fit into a bunch of, because it sounds like noise when Everett and I, but it's not, right? And when you fall into it, you realize, okay, here's the pluck, whatever it is, right? And it kind of comes through. And sometimes whoever's playing can guide it. Well, he couldn't do that at that point. So he was like causing this energetic kind of friction, and he wasn't comfortable. So I thought, oh, okay, I don't know what to do. And Everett took off, and I was left with myself and the Walter who records. Like, he would just record or play sometimes. And we ate a meal, and then we went for a hike in a forested area. And this young fellow suddenly got scared, but I mean, he went all the way into the forest with us. And then we said to each other, me and Walter, oh, do you know where this is? Right? Like that, with that tone. No, I'm not sure how to get back from here. Right? That's all we said. And this poor German fellow suddenly is almost in tears because he thinks we're lost. And we're like, oh my gosh, goodness. Oh, we're so sorry. We didn't mean to, scare you.
Yeah.
We were just saying that we're not absolutely certain because it's, we have to get back and have some dinner and whatnot. And it's how long it's going to take us to get back, because we could end up in a completely different town, nowhere near the car. And then we have to, like, I don't know, hike the roads or whatever, timing wise. And because there is some really wonderful places where there's roads all around it, right? There's no...
Yeah. I've been that kind of lost.
Yeah, there's no massive forest there, but it is at the same time. And it's quite beautiful. And so this young man is terrified, and we calmed him down and we got him back to the car. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. We bring him back to our place. We have a meal, and we stepped in and started playing. And then he went. And he went because he realized that when he is lost, we know how to come back. So let yourself fall into it. I mean, we were strangers to this person, right? So we're going on journeys, right? We do it all the time. That's what we're doing.
Because then that's the evidence about that it's about trust. The self-consciousness. It has to be in relation to something, right? You're not self-conscious. Some people are self-conscious alone. I'm not talking about that, but usually it's in relation to someone else.
Yeah, you realize that we're not going to lead him astray. We're not going to beat him in the head and kill him and steal his money.
But it's wise of him.
I'm not saying he thought that, but maybe he did.
Right. But it's never foolish to be cautious with your trust, even creatively.
Yeah.
If
Oh
I'm
my
playing
goodness!
With somebody, I say, just let it go, just improvise, and they go, well, I don't know you.
Oh, and I didn't feel that way. That's why at a certain point I pulled out my flute, which I'm more classically trained with. The violin I am, but I just dropped that aeons ago, right? But with the flute, military band with the flute. So I could just like throw in whatever I want. And I worked with him with that for a while before we did go for the hike as well, to show him that, oh yeah, I know that place. Let's do it. Here's some scales. Here's a little melody on a scale. Let's do it together. Because I mean, that's that normal place. But we were going elsewhere, and he knew that, and he wanted to go. But yeah, can you trust that? Do you have to trust this person? No. But if they're guiding you and saying it's okay, we won't get you lost. We might get a little lost, though.
Right.
We would get a little lost every now and then while we were playing.
Well, that's the tension. I mean, that's the tension. Yeah. Are they going to get back, or is there a back to get to?
Yeah. And do you want to force someone in there? No, you want them to go gently. You want them to go on their own with their own knowledge that they are protected as a being. Like all beings, we're all protected.
And all of this it would be horrifying if I had hired a dance band for a wedding. It was like, oh, this is all very well and good, and y'all are very creative. We were hoping to get something a little bit with a little bit of a beat, something a little more simple. I know I'm asking you to dumb it down, but really, folk would like to dance to something that's a little bit familiar.
Yeah, where exactly does this fit in to the world? A lot of places, a lot more places than I realized. You know,
well, you just gotta, you
we'd
have
be
to
invited. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't force. You know, you don't want to
Well, I
force your.
also do, traditional formalized songs.
Mm-hmm.
They come from elsewhere, and you put them in form. You have a certain amount of stewardship over them. You don't own them, but you do have a certain amount of stewardship. And they're my babies in a sense that way. And I respect them. And yeah, I don't know if you've heard any of that stuff of mine. I'd love to share it
No,
with you.
I've heard music. What you've done, I bet I've heard something similar.
Yeah, I love to find. Yeah, well, there's a whole world out there, obviously, of people who open themselves to the universe and allow songs to come through them and put them in a
There's lots of songs. Oh,
formal way.
there's lots of them. They're all beautiful and precious in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about experience. It's when you hear something, who you're with, how it's going down.
Oh yeah.
It isn't just the song alone in a vacuum.
Yeah,
All these other things.
They mean different things to different people as well, and as you're saying, and I love that part about hearing songs and hearing somebody else's story about a song. You know, the journey they had. Oh, when I heard that song, I'm good with that. I want to hear about it.
Yeah. What's great is that when people whole groups of people that you don't like a song that you like.
Oh,
that happens all the time, or that people appropriate a popular thing, right? A lot of it happens with symbols a lot, but it also happens with music and
then they turn it into something else. But I mean, that happens with that's kind of, to me, why I mentioned that I wanted to talk about time travel with you. I'm not totally giving you how that fits with this, but I understand that there are things yesterday that came into the world, for example, and they haven't been distorted yet. And that's why in the stuff I've learned, it says if you want to learn, then it's good to learn from your culture, and or your culture, the age you're in, and the people who are actually seriously taking on the great work. For example, they're saying, okay, I'm seriously doing this, and you probably won't hear from them. You have to search them out. They're not going to advertise what they're doing.
Yeah.
But anyway, they're letting it come through. And that music, for me, when I've worked with people, that's what's going on. Is that I got to meet people around the globe. He said, oh, did you know that we're actually our beings are like the spirit and a physical body on a journey? They don't even have to say that, but what they're doing says that to me, right? And that we're here on a journey, and that we can get caught up in ideals and forget the actual original thing of being here on a journey. Like, oh, I forgot that. I'm totally caught up in everything I'm doing.
Well, I'm gonna confess to you, I don't remember anybody telling me it was a journey, so I don't know that I forgot it as much as they never told me.
Yeah, okay.
Which is good, because if I thought I was on a trip, I would think something has gone terribly wrong. That the pilot or the navigator has lost their mind.
Oh yeah, but you do, and you have lost your mind, haven't you? That's
yeah. I like that. If it is a trip, don't tell me we're on one. That's even better. I don't want to know where we're going.
Yeah.
I don't want to know where you're going. It's like I was just on a farm the other day, and we were talking about it's a farm where I get a lot of my food, and it's a stock farm, has animals and vegetables, and
oh, wonderful.
it's small, family family,
Lovely.
probably about a dozen employees, and we were looking at the chickens and all, and talking about, these chickens have a really good life, up until when we slaughter them and eat them, which
Yeah.
is I'm fine. I'm not a vegetarian, so that I can that my brain is okay. It was like, yeah, all right, good things that chickens don't know. And it
Yeah.
is kind
They
of
don't
like
know till
that,
the last
I don't
minute.
know. I don't really want to know where I'm going, to be honest. And I feel like I already know that life is absurd and painful enough that if there is some sort of, uh, a reason for it, it's probably way beyond my understanding.
Yeah.
Don't tell me, because it'll confuse me.
Yeah.
And so I'm
Okay.
just gonna.
Yeah. Then journeys to a specific a word.
Right.
Then
I'm just
yeah.
gonna. I've learned some really basic things, and I know how to have experiences that mitigate the pain. So
Yeah.
just let me
Yeah.
concentrate on that. I'm just gonna be a happy chicken, and do
Breathe.
not tell me.
Remember to breathe.
Right. And the
I,
last thing I care about is where I fit into the big picture.
oh my goodness. Oh
I
my
don't pictures
goodness.
that I can't see. I am not interested
Well,
in.
even the ones you can see, right?
Right.
Because it's like,
Right.
oh, I'm missing a huge amount of information there.
Ugh,
Like
all of it.
that can't be that people
I
are
feel like I
that
had this.
dumb.
This is kind of a stoner dorm room thought, but I had it the other day, and I'm sure, and I'm one of billions now. But it occurred to me that there's so much information that any percentage that is virtually zero. You know how when like a number
Yeah.
is so big that
Yeah.
you say, oh, I've got 100, and go, I've got a billion, but a billion is still not even a dent. Then
Well,
it's a weird thing, and because
well, they
I
start
thought about
us,
it.
they start us with that when they, give us math equations to say, here's an angle and say, well, they just keeps going. And then they try to describe what happens to it when it keeps going, right? The
Right,
lines
yeah.
on the end of an angle or
Yeah. I mean, I'm not against
there's
truth and
no
everything. I
straight
mean,
lines, babe, but you can
I'm
draw a
against
straight line.
information that works and everything. I'm not saying that, like, smarter people aren't demonstrably can't do things that I mean, they can build an airplane and I can't, and I'm
Oh, isn't
cool with
that,
that.
I don't know if that's
Right? There's
smarter, but
more
it's pretty
information.
cool.
I'm not saying their information is worthless. I'm just saying vis-a-vis
Oh, God's no. I'm just
everything.
expressing that there's like always a level further, as you're saying.
Oh, right, yeah, exactly. So
Like it
I
doesn't
don't know.
matter. And they give it to us right away because it's part of the universe, right, that we live in. That's why I mentioned a line. That was the most fascinating thing. And I'm still stuck on it. Right. From when they gave it, they said, here's a line. It's a bunch of dots. And I'm like, where do the dots come from? Like, how do you even know
Oh, I
those
know. I'm
dots
still
that
like the
make a
whole
line? Like,
infinity and all. I'm still like, I
yeah.
think about that almost daily. I just
Yes.
think this is so,
And that's what I
this
mean,
is so great.
that as soon as you begin to look at even the sciences, if you want, or math, because to me math is
Right.
a separate language of that we can speak about. To me, it's like music and math they are inseparable in some ways. I don't even know how to describe that. And then at some point you just kind of understand that, as for differing reasons, that things
Mm-hmm.
are moving and they're always changing, and that you don't actually really understand any of the information. And then you go to
No.
this place where you're watching it, like, oh, I'm having an argument in myself. No,
Oh, I
it's a
don't
really kind of silly argument. And even worse, I'd be like angry with the person. And I'm like, why am I angry with this person? And there's actually no reason. It's just, I felt offended at some point or something, whatever it was. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just sitting there. And I'm like, how can I really feel anything if I'm stuck in this anger? Right.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like a lot of negative emotions I just do for entertainment purposes,
Well, I'm
because
working
my
on that.
body still likes to have them. I feel the need
Oh,
to
that's it. Yeah.
get worked up, and I can do it if I can do it where no one's. I can't. Well.
Well,
I can usually get angry without any consequence, and you go, well, there's a consequence to your own body, but I don't know. It feels kind of good if they don't let it spiral out of control. But I
Well,
like
I thought it's like kind of healthy to use, your like to do that anyway, like to just let yourself. But I'm talking about a lower rumble. It's just sitting there, and I'm like,
yeah, it's
I
no good.
decided that I wanted to fill it with a different noise. I'm like,
Right. Well,
I think that noise is just kind of not pleasant after. It's like it's stuck in a loop, you know? I'm like, oh, that's there. And it's almost like a fear as well. And then I realized that fear is of just being. Because I don't know what I am. I don't know where I am.
And my theme last week my weeks have theme because I tend to, because of the show, and they don't always make it onto the show, but I'll think about things in little 1 week concentrations. So last week, and sometimes I'll learn about when I read about it, or sometimes I won't. But memory comes up a lot. But I was talking to somebody, very, 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 very smart person, and they said, I forgot what I was just saying. What did I just say? And it made me think boy, we forget a lot and quickly. And we live, all of us, in a constant kind of almost amnesic state where you literally, I don't remember what I was just doing. That's so hilarious to me. I think that's why they'll never make machines or robots that come anywhere near people, because people could forget what they were just doing or saying. You could
they
have a
probably need the
conversation with
break,
somebody,
right?
They look in your eyes and they go, I'm sorry, I completely forgot what we were talking about. That is so beautiful and surreal to me. But also it's how does anything get done? I don't even understand how we get, no, true. And it doesn't,
absolutely.
it kind of doesn't. It kind of doesn't get done. And that's the thing. It's I think that and our world, if you look around the world suddenly you go, this world was made people that forget what they're doing while they're doing it. And there is things that endure, right? But they sort of have to go into autopilot for a lot of it. And it's very strange, our relationship to memory yeah. So when I speak on the show, I'm real conscious of it because I speak for an hour and I try to sort of remember what I've said in a way, or it's like
to me it's like finding that harmonic of what you were saying.
Yeah, I can feel it because I've got a thing. I see it as I already see it as a whole thing or something.
It's helpful, your show, for me in many, many ways, but one of the ones is it and I think it's harsh on some people, and I shouldn't say I know it can be, which is like a cut up method, and it's not, but you know what I mean. Some of the most potent things I've read were done in the cut up method because it makes you stop and make you realize that you don't have to know anything suddenly, right? And it's not giving you any information. It's just saying wake up, but it's not even saying wake up. It's just like a shock. Here's a shock, and it's not unpleasant shock, although it is, right? Because I recall actually throwing down. I think we did talk about him throwing down the book by Naked Lunch, right? And just saying, I don't ever want to see you again, because I read it 3 times. It was totally different every single time, and I got really pissed off and freaked out and scared every time I read the story, and I just threw it on the ground. It did disappear. I never saw it again, and there was no reason for that. No one was I was staying at my parents' place on my own, so maybe unconsciously I picked it up and threw it in the garbage. I don't know.
Well, I'm kind of anti-story, and so because I think it messes up people's attention span too, and it creates some willful blindness. If you're telling a story, it's supposed to hit certain marks. People think they know where they're going. They think they've actually learned something. They one thing should kind of lead to another, like that. And whenever you see art or movies where they want you to pay attention for its own sake, not because something's coming up that you got to remember to put together at the end, like it's a puzzle.
Yeah.
But just pay attention to everything for no reason. And people don't like that necessarily. Why?
Yeah.
And what am I listening to? So just, my attention is precious. I can't just look at something. You've got to tell me what it is. What is it? What is it I'm looking at? I go, well, just keep looking at it. I can't. I've got 60 seconds to look at this painting. Is it a house? Is it a face? Just look at it. What does it make you feel? I don't have time for feelings. So it's hard to get people into art that where you have to settle down and it might not tell you like a literal narrative. And then, but
Exactly. Yeah.
once you do,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, good God,
How
this thing is as rich as life itself, because that's exactly what life is this endless, recursive, tunneling, a digression that never stops, all this branching, and the branches keep going. So there's no dead ends when you take a detour. It just, that goes as infinitely as any other direction that you could have chosen. So that's the way I see the uh, the thing. And I know that some people that 5 minutes into that and they're ready to
run away.
I'm
That's
glad I don't have to see them.
well, I mean, there are so many things, like you said, information wise, that people come to things when they need it. And that's what happened for
Oh
me.
yeah.
And like with the naked lunch thing, I was youthful, so it was great for me to realize that I wanted it to be a story. Right? I was like, meanwhile, I had read these other sacred texts, with yoga in them and how to meditate and all these blah blah blah, right? They aren't blah blah, but blah blah blah. And I'm looking for something profound. Here I am having a piece of art in my hands, which I know even by this time how amazing art is when it actually it is a sacred text in a sense, right? I know people don't like that word, but for me, it's just a reminder that that there is something far more to everything. And somebody taught me that rather than giving it a name, God or whatever, just say X, because it's the unknown, in the equation. And
Yeah.
it's very helpful. So here I am reading this book as a youth, Naked Lunch, and I want it to be something. So I'm trying to force it into something. I mean, where's the anger? This is where I learned that, that's my anger. There's nothing wrong with the book.
Right.
So you can learn. That's what I'm saying. If somebody walks away from your material, uh, um, because it does bring a discomfort, there's also that possibility that somewhere else they've discovered something really important. I mean, it didn't bring me right back to reading more books by that's terrible. I can't remember
Burroughs.
Burroughs. Yeah.
Well, I don't know how much he has to say.
Yeah. But of course I did start one, and that's where he told me something really deep about addiction. And that's something that I didn't understand even till recently, that I'm addicted to my ideas, like they're important. It's good in the sense that I see that it's love that I'm seeking, right?
Yeah.
But I'm putting it into a place where it doesn't unfold, where I'm not watching anymore. I'm not appreciating there's not much thanksgiving. When I have an idea, it's like, oh, I'm thankful. It's like I have an idea. So that's like, whoa, where'd that come from?
I thought as I got older that I would have like I would go into my end of my life knowing more about things,
Yeah.
being more content, like with trying to have it figured out. I'm now ready to be an old person and to die because and it's absolutely the opposite. Like it's almost like Swedish death cleaning, but with ideas. Like I'm getting rid of all my preconceptions. Everything is going away.
Swedish
death cleaning. Yeah, that's where you don't burden your descendants with all the clutter in your house. As you get older, you try to give things away and get rid of junk, so that when you do die, your kids don't come in and go, "Oh, Christ." Because that's what happens.
No, I love that.
People, it's like, oh my God, my parents have so much stuff, and people have to go through. So it's cool if you have, and you're getting older, you don't need as much stuff. I have a relative's turning 95, and his family is like, "Oh, please do not give him any things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
He
yeah.
doesn't need any things. Just wish him well. Send him call him or something, you
Yeah,
know." And so, but I'm not. I feel that way with ideas, or because like I don't. I'm not actually. I actually need fewer of them. What they're for is this like kind of reality I'm in and living this. They're not to make sense of it. They're just kind of functional, and they're like, I won't need them, and I don't need to figure anything out.
absolutely. Like I'm about to work on a bicycle I have here, and I'm just going to go through a YouTube video because I just want to get the derailleur fixed because it's acting up and just
Mhm.
needs adjustment. And I've got video online that just walks you through it. I don't need that information tomorrow. I just need it when I'm going to do the bike.
Right.
And somebody who really has done this a lot has offered this wonderful video to walk through. Now, there could have been a book, and I could read a book and use that as well.
Uh-huh.
Or I could go to an old master, which they're all gone from my area. I have family members who were, and my many things, but definitely bicycles was a big thing.
Mhm.
Anyway, it's just what do I need that information later for? But even learning that, because I trained as a machinist and then went off to be a mechanic in the military. And so every vehicle is different, and then they get new ones in, and there's certain information that you absolutely need to know, right? This is an engine that
Mhm.
has gasoline.
Yeah.
There's not a lot. It's like really
Right.
simple, right? You could even forget it all. You don't need to carry it around and I remember everything. Just go and look it up again because it's just you. There's a sense of when you need it is what I'm
Right.
trying to get at. Is that how
Oh
much do
yeah.
we need?
No, yeah, with it's it's not like all those law books behind a lawyer. They're just they're as needed. They don't know what's in them. They're there because the one time out of 100 where they got to pull down check out this law.
Yeah, and figure out and there's other depths to it, but they don't want to carry that around in their brain all the
No, I don't
time.
need. I can carry very little with me actually, but I have to get it the knowledge when I get there or something.
Well, if
Yeah.
I wanted to, be a little more professional at bike fixing, I would spend more time looking at a bunch of different bikes and kind of getting it down to an
Right.
art form so I could do it in a few minutes. It's going to take me hours.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I'm cool with that. When I'm finished, I'll have my bike. I can go riding.
I like sometimes I like going to approaching if it's not an important thing or I'm not doing it for somebody else. I don't mind approaching a job in ignorance and learning, like especially if it's building something.
Yeah.
I think maybe I don't want to look up how to do it, and I'm sort of that way with gardening a little bit. Like I'm like I wonder if I can just tell like from season to season. Like I'm just gonna try to.
Well, what's wrong?
I
I
wonder if
don't
I
think
can
there's anything
figure it
wrong with
out.
that because if you don't figure it out and it doesn't work and it collapses,
Oh,
then
I'm
you,
not I'm not yeah, my family doesn't die or starve or
yeah.
anything if I don't get it right. It's just a hobby.
Well, that's exact. Oh, yeah.
I
Well,
was like that with
that's interesting.
I was intensely doing archery for a while and I really like it and I'm not terrible and I'm not great, right? I just like it. I just like the way it feels. I like it.
It's beautiful.
Like it.
Yeah.
God, do not go online and look at instructional. It'll ruin it. You'll ruin it. You go like, I'm doing everything wrong, or oh, it's awful. And a lot of things are like that. They'll just sometimes unless you're really looking to hone one particular thing, it can be really discouraging to see how little you know about something you love because you think I thought I was enjoying it. I didn't know. I
Oh
didn't
my
know. I
goodness.
didn't know anything. So
Oh, okay.
fishing
So
like
you
that,
just do it, but oh my goodness.
Well, I
Well,
like
there.
the failure. I like a thing. Well, this was true as a kid too. Like, you can. My grandfather wanted to show me things a lot, but I wanted to figure it out because I thought the lesson would stick. I was a very wise kid. The lesson would
Yeah.
stick more if I got to it by going doing everything wrong first, so that I'd figure out why you do the right thing. And that was always very important to me. And I did that with music too. I played my instrument wrong. You say, well, there's no wrong way. Yes, there is. There is. If you want to do certain things, you have to.
And more than that, for your health of
and
your
you can
hands.
hurt yourself. Right, exactly. Yeah. So eventually I was like, man, if I want to get any better, I do have to learn the right way to do it. But now I know why the wrong way is wrong, though. And also I can do some wrong things on purpose if I want certain tones or something too. Like there's all sort of now I can use the wrong creatively. I always thought that in writing or any art form like that, there's we're coming back to the wrong stuff. We'll get back to that. That's like the highest level is when you revisit the wrong. But first you got to get the wrong, to get where you can, got to master the right.
Well, it makes okay, but there's a point where the information is kind of already there in ourselves. Like you're listening and you realize like something like a bow and an arrow, for example, has it's really beautiful. I mean, we're talking, we're using these physics of this piece of material that we've bent and created this string, really, that you can now use as a powerful lever. It's past lever, but there's a lever to create power behind the throw of the arrow. And of course, I think, and this is interesting that you talk about, I think that early on we obviously had to do everything that way, but somebody came up with that lever for a bow and an arrow. And how did it happen? And that's where I think, okay, it's in us somewhere. So you just kind of have to open to it. And once it's actually physically made, it's even more present. And I'm not saying that I start there with everything, because sometimes, like with this bicycle, it's I don't know if you know, but the derailleur is actually one of the most profound leverage systems they've ever come up with on a bicycle.
Really?
Yeah, I should check it out, because it's so it's really almost counterintuitive because of the different levers that are in it, right? And it's about being familiar with them. And I have a passion for mechanical things. I really do. I'm about to step into doing soldering and putting together my own solar panels for.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, I'm scared of it.
Soldering, yeah. Oh, you'll get. Oh,
I want to make the panels so they run my computer and my studio.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't have to hook up to the grid if I want to go. And
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I'm going to get it done, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to step into it, and I will have a product when I'm finished. I don't know if it'll work. Isn't that what you're saying? It'll build a little house here, fell over.
Right, exactly.
Glad like my many,
my many daub. I was making mud pizza ovens in my yard.
Awesome.
Just like do one every year, trying to do it better.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
And that was, I mean, I had to learn. I mean, I didn't make that up. Like I figured I learned how to do it. But then there's all these.
Well, that's an elaborate one. I mean, you could just try to cook meat underground, right? Rather than going to a pizza oven. That's like, whoa.
It's just like basically just a mud dome.
Wow.
I just like making things out of mud and straw for some reason. It's
I want to. I've never done it. So you've done this, like, to make us. Now, there's probably really
can make bricks.
Unique balance, right?
Yeah. So, absolutely. So you have to do like you mix it up. So you do it. Yeah, you got to mix it up in one big batch, right? So you got to like do it. So
it's all pretty even in its strength and quality.
Yeah, exactly. So you're mixing mud and straw and it's really, clay, but you get it out of the ground, right? So there's other stuff in it.
Have you looked into the pounding method they use with mud? It's ancient, but they brought it back again in the last 50 years, 40 years started. Yeah, it's really interesting. I know I've seen some there's some structures still, like quite ancient structures that are pounded mud. You know
I
what?
love that. I love
Yeah.
I love buildings, and that's another thing. I wish I could have more. I'm not the type though that is like, oh look, he built a Stone Age roundhouse or something on his land out there. I will never do that in a million years.
I
But
would
I
love
would.
it.
But that's deep inside. That's who I am. I just don't have that degree of focus, or that would be just way. I don't know. I'd probably get the first few pilings set, and then it would just sit there until I died. But I'd love to do stuff like that, and I guess if I knew people who were actively doing it, I'd try to fall in with them.
Have you worked with clay? I'm the same way as somebody I knew who was making houses out of dung, because they use dung in those things,
Yeah,
and straw and mud and lime. I
I've
would
only
definitely
used.
join in. I've seen people doing it in Great
Yeah,
Britain on shows or something.
I've only used with clay, like like when I mix it in to make the mud daub stuff,
Okay,
and not real, because I mean I can't. I work with what's in the ground. So Tallahassee had a lot of clay, so they had like actual red clay.
we have
It
red
was on
clay
my
here as
property,
well
right? So,
that you can go and get. As a matter of
but the
fact, I
clay
have
in
cups made
Kentucky
out of
is
it. So,
this is different. So the clay
so
here in
there's no
Kentucky
clay.
is different than my other kind of clay.
What color is it?
Here it's more it's not red. It's more like a
Gray or what?
tanny gray or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I,
I don't have a ton of it in my yard to be honest. I think I live in what used to be a lot of where their houses used to be horses. So and cows and things. A lot of pasture.
Oh, so it's fairly flat where
So
you are.
well, it's rolly.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
Rolling hills and some
Lovely.
old trees, but I don't know. It's not clear what trees were here. And
Yeah, I know. I know. I get even in my area that there are trees that are from here, and I've seen some that are going extinct, and they're really amazing. And then we've got a whole bunch of hybrids or trees from Europe, and
yeah.
rather than the original ones. But there is some area here that um, oh my goodness. That's terrible. I can't think the name of it. But there's a lot of this swampy kind of look that you get down in d- and the forest comes from there. There's a part of the forest here that comes from
Mm-hmm.
down in on the east coast, southern east coast of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't think of the name of it, but it's got these really kind of low-lying, long branched, huge
Like a live
trees.
oak. We had
Um,
live oaks in Tallahassee. Have you ever seen a live oak? It's an
no.
oak tree, and it's got very tiny leaves, but its branches go out horizontally, really pretty close to the ground, and they make these huge canopies. And then
Oh,
hanging from the
lovely.
branches is Spanish moss,
Yes,
lots and lots of
yes.
Spanish moss.
And there's a name for that particular type of forest because it's a huge area
Right, and
down
so
there.
it looks like some movie you've seen about Louisiana or something where they're
Uh-huh.
driving. But
We
that's like the South where I come from is like that with these live oaks, and it's kind of menacing because I like North Florida and Tallahassee because it's you can see people have really been convinced that they can tame like especially like swamp or and they
Okay,
really
well,
can't. Florida fights back.
Dakota says it's Carolinian forest is the name of it.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So go on. Yes, exactly. There's like the Swamp
Right, and it
Thing
gets in the
film.
swampier it gets, like the more dire things. But and there's we used to go visit. There's between Tallahassee and Apalachicola, there's a bunch of woods, and there was a town in there called Magnolia, and a bunch of people moved to this small town because they thought the railroad was going to come through, and it was going to pass right through there. So they went
And
and they bought all
improve
this
the
land,
area. Yeah.
built little houses and everything. Well, the railroad did not go through
Oh.
there. So then they were just a town in the middle of the woods. And by woods, I really mean, most people would think like jungle because it's crazy. It's swampy. There is more biodiversity. there than almost anywhere in the United States. And by biodiversity, I mean living things that want to eat you.
Yeah.
Right? It's really, really crazy. There's so many poisonous things. It is like freaking Australia. So and so they didn't survive very long. And I went to visit it.
Oh, so it's
all
a
that's
ghost
left
town now?
it's just all the structures are gone. The only thing there is a small graveyard, and with it has got one of those wrought iron fences around it, right? And a few dozen graves, and that's it. And it's in the middle of the woods with cabbage palms and palmetto bushes and all these kind of brushy things around it, and snakes and rattlesnakes on the graves. I'm not even exaggerating. I almost startled a rattlesnake. I was like, I don't belong here.
Yeah, those things are pretty scary,
Oh, it's scary. And it's
especially
like,
in the middle of nowhere. Of course, that's where
I
you're gonna
pitied
run
those
into 'em.
people, but I also thought, oh, you greedy fools. Like, clearly, why there's lots of places for you to live. You don't have to we're going to get rich on the railroad. Shut up and go home to St. Louis or wherever you're from.
Wherever you're from. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. That's wild. I love it. I love it. And so the buildings are even gone.
Oh, everything's gone. Yeah, because they were wood structures, and it gets so humid there.
In a place like that, the wood doesn't last. You'd have to go with stone or brick.
The climate reclaims
everything
really quickly. Things break down, which is wonderful, right? So things rot quickly.
It sounds like a good place to leave my corpse, right?
It wouldn't be bad. It wouldn't be bad. Certainly, you'd feed a lot of creatures.
That's the idea.
Because there's salt marsh there too. I mean, the salt marsh is beautiful. I mean, marshland is fantastic.
I have never been near salt marsh. I mean,
I've lived near.
I lived in the middle of a swamp or a marsh up here in this area, and it was the most amazing thing. It's
St. Mark's in North Florida, big salt marsh there, and I live near the Camargue in the south of France, which is a salt marsh, but it has flamingos, which is very strange. So salt marsh.
I thought they were just in Florida area.
No, they've got there from North Africa or something. The ones in France, I think.
Those birds, man, they seriously have
crazy, weird birds.
All birds have an option, lovely option that I theorize that we used to be able to fly and we forgot to.
I wonder. When I think of flamingos, I think of Hialeah racetrack in South Florida because it's like their symbol. I know I shouldn't think of that. I should think of tropical.
Well, yeah, exactly.
I don't even like horse racing. I don't know why. That was an early memory. I'm against it in principle.
Everyone would have a different thing. I have multiple memories, and they kind of go back to my grandmother because she used to love going to Florida at the turn of the century in a car. That's crazy because there were no roads really.
Oh, I know. Early Florida. I'm still fascinated by Florida. I mean, I lived there for a big chunk of my life, but it's a strange place. Boy, it's just where it's where the greedy sort of get their comeuppance, because
because at some point everything gets destroyed. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think unfortunately the right people don't. The sinners don't get punished, but people get punished.
I heard Miami's they keep building up, and they're gonna have to go over to Holland or the Netherlands and pray for their help if they want to stay there.
Oh, I know, no kidding. It's really crazy. The Everglades. I mean, it's just all of Florida itself. It used to be
bigger.
Florida.
Sorry,
it did used to be bigger. No, it used to be bigger. It used to be bigger. And there's a whole they're not entirely missing, but there's a whole civilization of people when it was much larger, right? Who lived near the beach.
And I'm intrigued by them. You're the ones but
their civilization is. I mean, you can't do any archaeology because it's gone.
There are people working on doing underwater archaeology.
Yeah, but a lot of this stuff wouldn't last. Or they found cool things, and this is where sinkholes are good. Is they found in Florida in sinkholes they found skulls, ancient skulls.
Thank you. Yes,
and some of them still have DNA in them.
That's what I was
They have
wondering. Yes,
brain
they found
matter.
some of the oldest in North America remains in Florida.
Yes.
I heard as well, which I thought
Professor Glenn.
I don't remember.
He was FSU guy. And I never. Oh my gosh! I can't believe I suddenly can't. That's one of those things I've known his name for decades, and now I haven't used it in a long time.
Maybe
But
Taxi.
the archaeology professor at FSU who dug one of those up, I remember his name for a long time. It's a small town, so
yeah, it's pretty amazing. And I know
but anyway, so that stuff was on my radar because it was going on around there, and
I know that it's older and the area was way more built up than the Europeans would have us believe as well.
I have some. Most everybody who lives there, who's lived there for any amount of time, has objects that are very, very, at least 1,000 years old, laying around, like pottery or spearheads, or they're just lousy with them. I mean, they're just in the river. You can't. I mean, you're not supposed to take them, but they come into people's possession.
yeah.
I've never picked up any in the. I've never taken any, but I have some. I don't even know how I got them. People give them to you. Or,
yeah, exactly. I know that we have some of that here as well, and I know people who've found them in their yards.
I had at one point when I was living in Tallahassee, I counted among my friends the state archaeologist and the #1 poacher of Native American artifacts.
Oh my God.
I knew both of them, and they knew who
each other were. Yeah, I bet you'd want to know who's doing the opposite of what you're doing.
Crazy. It was like knowing Elliot Ness and
and
the mafia guy. What's his name with the Al Capone or something?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
or
exactly
anyone,
like
a number of the different group of the mafia. Yeah, anyone member. Yeah, and having them hang out. But not,
so that was
right?
that was weird. So I mean, it was I don't know. It's an interesting. I mean, we're all human beings. I don't know about.
Do they communicate with each other? Did you know if they did?
I know that they understood each other's rationale for what they did. I think they understood each other. The guy who poached the objects was not. It was complicated. He wasn't entirely mercenary. He wasn't entirely white. It wasn't. It's not. It's very murky.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, it wasn't a clear bad guy, good guy thing.
Oh, of course. Yeah, that's the part that's really intriguing, because there's whole other issues, right? Like one person is acknowledging it, which is, okay, well, this is a different culture, and that every time we touch it, we're actually impacting it for the people who are here in some way. Never mind the out and out genocide that has been committed and still is to this day. Right. And people don't even know that. It was like, oh, well, that's part of our culture now, folks. We have to get rid of it, but hoping sooner the better, right? Anyway, I mean, yeah.
I probably agree with one of them, but not for the reason that they do. Does that make sense?
That's great. Yeah, of course.
The archaeologist was like, basically, he didn't want the objects. He wanted the objects to not be excavated.
Yeah.
So and that at first you might think, well, no, we won't learn anything about. And the poacher's argument was, I want to know some of my culture. I want this stuff preserved. These are blah blah blah. Some of them are sacred objects. Blah blah blah. So. But I kind of like just leave them there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because once you pull something out, you pull it out of history, you pull it out of context. It's not what it was when it went in the ground. Anyway.
Who's going to decide what it is?
Right. It's all sorts of, it just becomes a symbol and fraught.
Yeah.
And, just let it, and I'm like that for digging up people too. It's like, we don't need to dig them all up. We want to learn, and we've got all these animal prisons because we have to learn. We have to imprison some animals because we got to learn. It's like, well, maybe if your learning starts to get where you're digging up the dead and making prisons for creatures.
Oh yeah, isn't that horrible?
Dial back your learning a little bit.
Pulling up corpses. They made it illegal to pull up corpses for a reason.
Well,
I mean,
there was one of these, maybe I've told this story before, but one of these exhibitions was coming to my town that, one of these human body exhibitions where they take people's remains and they flay them. They take the skin off and then they dip
okay.
them in some kind of resin and then they pose their skinless corpses doing things like playing frisbee or riding horses. So,
Sorry, I'm in
and
shock. I have never heard of this. I don't know what planet
oh,
I've been on.
the original exhibition, I believe, originated in Germany, and they used donated bodies. So people who donated their bodies to science, they took them and they did this process to them, right? So, and then this toured around. Look at the beautiful human body. So I think like, that's kind of gross, and I don't know how much we're actually learning by looking at corpses like playing frisbee, but God bless you, they donated their bodies. But then a lot of knockoff exhibits came up. And what they did is they paid China for bodies. They paid China to send me preserved bodies without their skin. Now, when you do that, China will send you human beings,
Oh,
but who they
sorry.
are is not clear. And there's no paperwork that tells you who they are. And there's in every single state of the union, you are not allowed to own or parade or play around with or pose playing frisbee human remains that you can't account for, that you don't have permission to have.
Sounds like
And
a good plan.
I'm actually fine with that law.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, where'd you get that corpse? I found it. You can't do that. Like,
No. You
where?
need
Because
to report it if you found
that
it.
doesn't seems right.
I found it in the
So,
mail.
and of
What?
course, a lot of these people were political prisoners. They were executed Chinese prisoners. A lot of them had bullet holes in them. So one of these came to my town, and I was like, "How did these people get permission to have this exhibit at our local museum?" Like,
Wow.
what is this? This is fulfills our mandate to educate. Oh, stupid little local museum. And then I'm
That's
just
the
like,
craziest thing I've heard.
I'm like, where are the paperwork that tells me all these corpses are coming? Who are they? Can I see the papers? And I was vilified, man. They're like, shut up. Nobody would know, the law enforcement wouldn't do
Shh.
anything about it.
Shh.
Nobody
Hardy.
would make them. It was really awful.
Oh,
And
that's
it's not even I mean, I care about other things more. Obviously, the dead
well,
are not like my
yes.
number one priority. But I
Yes.
was like, just as a society, I'm really tired of a lot of of a lot of like carnival stuff masquerading as science. Like this is sideshow junk. This doesn't teach you anything about the human body. We all know we have muscles.
Yeah,
This is
I
not
think that
new.
they've made these pretty
And it doesn't
good
have to be real. It doesn't have to be.
plastic
I'm going to go to a wax
replicas.
museum, right? Do a plastic replica. It doesn't have to be an actual. But part of it is this grotesque, like that's a real dead person. Oh, and that's sideshow junk.
I
And
don't
I
know.
was
My
like,
mind just, I think that what I've done is that if I've ever heard of this, my brain turned it off and said it didn't exist.
and it's not pop. They've sort of disappeared. This was like a '90s thing.
Oh my goodness. Well, oh yeah, and don't say anything. That's the best part.
Well,
Is
one of
that
the things, I guess I
you
can't
know
imagine that there's bodies kept for very long. I mean, I was like, I just went to one of those
that was my thought, right?
showbiz pizza animatronic things, and with the robots that sing songs while children eat pizza, and those break down. I can't even imagine if I had like a body dipped in lucite. I think eventually things would drop off of it.
This is my first thought. I'm like, I know that there is a science though to preserving bodies. Obviously, people have, which I don't understand. I was reading something and they were implying, these people who do archaeology and history, implying that the idea of preserving, like making mummies, is like a human achievement in a good thing, and it means something that particular culture is better than another culture. And I'm like, I don't know. I can't agree with that. But if you chat with somebody who works in archaeology, they would say, well, that's the marker we use. That means that culture is a higher culture and there's other things
Mm.
around it. But I can't agree. I can't even disagree or agree because I'm uncertain about us and our understanding of how we really need to live together. So I don't want to use a dead body that somebody has preserved as a marker to say that that means it's a higher culture. Literally is what they're saying than another culture.
Well, let's just take the Egyptian mummies just for an example. The higher culture that believes some wacky ass stuff, and the reason that there's a mummy is because of all crazy shit they believe.
Terrified of death. Terrified of death, right?
Scared of death, authoritarian, past the grave, all these weird things that reflect their own neuroses and guilt.
But we don't even understand it, right? There might have been people who did, and we aren't even certain about, because frankly, when you take the same person who says, oh, here's the dead body that's been mummified. And in my mind, my ideas and my ideals I've been taught say that means it's a better culture. And that same person goes and looks at, let's say, the word religion. They have a whole idea about it that has absolutely nothing to do with it. It is completely clueless. They don't even know the beginnings.
And then you can see
spiritual. I'll call it spirituality. They don't even know the beginnings of it.
That Egyptian stuff is a good example, because as that culture deteriorated, right, they kept making. Because I went to an exhibit in
isn't that when they started going to war
Baltimore,
all the time?
they started making stuff worse. Like, so if you look at their sarcophagi from the height of their power and wealth, right, to hundreds of years later, people basically forgot how to make nice stuff. The things had degenerated, and they had broken down. And you see that in cultures all the time, right? They peak, and then people forget how to even do the stuff. So they live in the ruins of the ancients. So
okay. And
so the only thing that made them look is they had enough resources to indulge their craziness.
Have they fallen asleep as well and forgotten to that they are amidst something that is profoundly amazing, and they don't even realize it? Not the objects, just the fact that they're in a body, right? Is something to take a moment and go, whoa, what the heck is this? Right?
I'll forget you said that in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
There it is in a nutshell. That's right. I was reading about an ancestor of mine, and he's not a direct ancestor. He was like my fifth great grandmother's brother, and he was at in Western Pennsylvania, and he went to a tent revival meeting, and man, he found Jesus, and he started speaking in tongues, and he got all filled with the Spirit, and he's like, I'm going to give my life to Christ. I'm going to be a minister. I'm going to do all this. And apparently, like a few weeks later, he's like, nah. Because it wore off, It's like the mania wore off, or the excitement wore off. And it's like, nah, I think I'm going to go into politics. He just sort of forgot he even felt all that stuff. And that is so common.
But is that something that you can use as a politician later on to say, hey, give myself to God?
You can fake it. Exactly. You can speak all that nonsense.
Yeah.
And he wrote it. He actually became mayor of Pittsburgh because there was a big backlash against the Masons. So he used the hateful religious rhetoric of his youth to create some bigotry that he rode into power on. So there you go.
Yeah, that's a whole area that I find that people tell me that I have to decide, what I am. You have to be involved in politics. I have to.
Oh yeah, no,
everything I do is involved in politics, and it's really cool to feel that, because to be honest with you, when I was young, my parents said, "Well, it's if you watch the news, you may find out some of the things that are going on, and it may be informative to you, right?" And it wasn't about they always had a certain amount of politics on it, right? About what's going on, sort of, and it's. I don't even want to get into how distorted it is. I've made documentary films and and earlier on been involved in certain types of political things that are ongoing. And generally, if you're reading about something, it's not actually the truth, and it's okay. That's the way it is. But information can be right. Some of the information, like there was an earthquake. how people felt about it, what really happened there, you don't know. You'd have to be there.
Right. No, policies. I
have to pick a
I'm not.
side, I'm told. And I don't even have,
I just make sure yeah.
Yeah.
I just lie a lot to people I'm with, I guess, or something. I've got everything is like, well, there's times to explore nuance and there's times to not. And
Yeah.
and I get that. So I don't know that everything can't be nuanced, right? Sometimes you have to just use a hammer when you really know, like, tweezers is what
Yeah,
you
you got to
need.
kind of have a hammer in your
But
pocket.
if that's not the choice, right? I don't know, and I understand that. I'm not against. I'm not an impractical person, but I also know that, like, I don't know. I don't want to let anything get inside me and
make this all the
take root.
decisions from there.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
From
no, I gotta
this one
stay.
idea when you haven't
I gotta
really
stay
even.
flexible.
Yeah, and I'm just saying it's kind of shocking me that
I can't go wrong though. I have this undefeatable moral philosophy that can't be defeated. And I don't advocate many things, but this is it. And I tell you, it's been working for me. Is that I just absolutely concentrate on my relationships and concentric circles. So I love people around me, and not like willy nilly. Like, so there's people that are closer to me. I love them the most, and I actively do things like drive them places and work to feed them and strive, right? And then there's another circle outside of that. And those people also are, I am concerned, sometimes I see them daily, weekly, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But those are that, and then that circle keeps broadening. Now my power diminishes as the circle gets bigger.
Mm-hmm.
But I find I have enough to do because I want to always be growing and changing and serving those people and those relationships, right? So I'm always doing, and I feel like that. And then I base my decisions. I don't have to get caught in some sort of utilitarian trolley decision, because if the trolley is going to hit my buddy John or something, I'll just save John. That's my job. Hopefully the people on the other trolley track, all their families out there, are going to pull them off the tracks too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you
right?
want it
Like,
to...
so I'm trying to care. Like, my idea is like care for those, care for those around you, and then when we get good at it, we can hook up our little circles and stuff, and care for each other as in bunches like that, in groups, but
well, it can be really simple though as well, right? I discovered that I just needed to think warmer thoughts about the people who were close to me. Like, I was in a state of, fear, right? I was stuck in fear, and which is fine, but it wasn't it. It's not really experiencing anything when you're stuck in fear.
No.
Yeah. So I thought, there's people who are close to me who are really good to me. And I'm actually having these thoughts. I'm like, oh, well, that's cool, but that's not the truth. I really love this person. And I can't, and there's something very wonderful about this person. So I thought, okay, that's it. I'm just going to like dive into the other words like, love, wisdom, understanding. I have a rainbow unicorn in my pocket. And if I thought of the person, I'd think of the beautiful things about them. And that's a reality. I mean, there's, and that's a bigger thing. But I found that certainly when you do that, you're contributing in a good way. I am, to the people I love, just even by thinking. And then I bring it to my voice as well.
Well, that's why I set out to save the world, which is a naive, but that was a very long time ago. But I mean,
can I say you had the voice of reason who spoke?
as you figure, as you start doing it, and you start, after I was on the radio for a while, and then I was doing good, but not what I intended, right? So you'd hear from people and you go, you did that. And I go, I didn't even know that I meant to do that. Yeah. And then you get a kind of clear picture of what saving the world means.
Yeah.
Right. So, and you start to see, like, you're saving individuals, but but something even smaller than that. You're saving a piece of a heart at a piece of a time of a day. So you're not. It's not like you're doing something like you save that person's life. You're saving a little part of their life. You saved a little something, and these little things are super important because, like, I don't think many people are able to do more than those little things for one another. I know when I'm really hurting, like I don't even know that there's something grand that they can even do for me. Sometimes I want my pain just acknowledged or my hand held.
Yeah.
So even if somebody could be a superhero, I'm not sure that they could absolutely ultimately save me or like cure my depression for the rest of my life or something. But that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a helping hand in an instance. So that's what I decided. I thought, I think that's what I'm doing. But I'm throwing so much out there that I don't know I don't know what's sticking. I don't know who it's helping and everything. But it's not supposed to help 1,000 people or 100 people at a time.
It could just be one, right?
It's one, and then just for that 5 minutes or that 10 minutes, or and I'm fine with that. There is no. I don't know that it's for me personally. I can't do more than that. That's what I can do.
I want to say I forgot about humor, right? I did. It's weird. I know. It's difficult, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
it is. I found
frivolous.
Yeah, like I
it feels like you're
laugh.
not being sensitive. I've never laughed so much as like in tragedies and stuff where people are near death or there's somebody's dying or even a child's dying or something. And they're still laugh. It freaks people out. But like you go mad, there's madness where there isn't humor.
Yeah,
you can't make sense. The life is just absolutely not. Sometimes this is not worth living unless you know that I could just have a little bit of joy, even if it's in the midst of this awfulness.
That's it. And finding miracle nutrition has such a unique, profound way of taking me to laughter that I can't even express it, and I wouldn't even want to try. It has, and I had lost it, really lost it. Like I was off the patch, man. I was anger, no fear. Like I said, it was like fear, and there's not a lot of laughter and fear.
I understand. No. I get that.
I can't even recommend go listen to the Miracle Nutrition, right? I'll post it so people can get a look at it, but it's something that I wouldn't want to say, hey, go listen to this, right? Because it's like, why? It's there. I post it when I can so people know, the options there, good naturedly. It's not something that I know that it always brings me to laughter every single time. And so I can recommend it to me.
Right. I know it's probably, I know it's not for everybody.
But I feel it is at the same time.
I know it isn't right. I guess I feel like it is because I'm literally not saying anything. I mean, you come away with it. I promise I won't have done anything to you. I'll leave your brain just as confused as it was when
you came in the door.
And I'm not trying to confuse. That's the thing. I'm not trying to confuse anybody. I'm not trying to do a performance piece where I'm trying to make your world insane or something or show you. I'm not trying at all.
No.
And I'm just I think I'm trying to normalize the way that we all jump around when we think and how we forget.
It's very helpful for me, and it brings back the humor in my spirit. That's all I can say. It's very helpful.
I will say this is one of the last things I'll say is that I feel like a lot of times there's this secret that story and the idea of stories are secretly oppressing us and making us feel like everything that we've done has to be part of a story, that we have a story. Tell us your story. Like, it's like a lot of people feel, I'm afraid like public radio is going to come up and say, tell me your story. And I don't have a story. My life is boring. People feel oppressed by it. It's like, maybe I haven't done anything. And this idea that everything has to be like there's got to be events, there's got to be this conflict, and then we can make sense out of it if it's a story, and everything is like, and you'll notice even in the media more and more, like you say, oh, like there's a rainstorm. That's a thing, right? But now say, no, let's hear some of the stories. Now, this lady lost her puppy, Muffin. And then when it starts to go into that,
they could have put their energy into helping her.
Right. It's just telling these stories is not helping me. I always thought that about like emergency shows on TV. We're going to tell these stories about what it's like to be in the emergency room. It's like, I effing know. It's horrible. I dread it. When the phone rings in the middle of the night, something I don't want to see it. Is like
I
I'm
don't
not
want to
going to
go there.
gawk
That's
at
right. It is horrible. Yeah.
Yeah, forget that stuff.
Generally, hospitals are horrible. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go look at them. You're sitting.
I'd rather go to a graveyard and hang out than a
Let's watch people
hospital.
mourn on TV.
Oh my
That's the
goodness.
last thing
Thank
I
you.
need.
Yeah, the story. Thank you so much.
So you don't have to have a story. Everybody listening, you don't have to tell them.
Don't worry. You don't have to have a story. Exactly.
Everybody's story. It's just going to sound like a coworker's stupid dream that you're having to listen to.
And you have to hear the whole thing.
That's right. You have to hear the whole thing. And you go, well, that was pointless. You go, yeah, but it made me feel a certain way. That's the key. It's just the feeling. It's an experience. It's not a story.
So that is the friendship thing between people as well. People may need to say their story so they can hear the absurdity and love of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh wow. There is a specialness to having an opportunity to spend time with you. And I mean, I could get into the profundity of being guided at some point to move away from story. But I recall as a child saying I really wanted story, but I realized it wasn't what I was reading ever. Right. I read these books and I'm like, oh, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it. And then somebody introduced me to some Sufi material, things like Rumi and, Idris Shah did a bunch of translations of those stories. And I'm like, that's the story I wanted. And they don't actually make sense in normal ways. Like there's one called Mushkil Gusha, which I mentioned reminds me of your show because it's the remover of all difficulties. And it's every Thursday evening, right? And the energy of it is always present, but more so on Thursday evening. And there's a story in it. And there's like these little breaks in it that when somebody first reads it says, well, that's not right. That's not, how could that be? That doesn't fit.
Right.
The story isn't exactly what you expect.
Right.
Anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Your expectations are going to ruin the fun.
And every time I hear it, I swear it's different, but in a way that reminds me that I am cared for. And it's a weird concept, but really essential to keep in mind every now and then for people out there that you're here because you were invited. I mean, I'm proposing this, something to check out, that, you weren't forced to be here. Sorry.
Yeah, you wonder.
I know. It doesn't seem like it at times.
Well, no. This doesn't seem like something I would have volunteered for.
Oh, come on. It's actually way more amazing than you realize, right?
Yeah, I'm willing to do it. It's like how I felt about school. It's like, well, I guess I'm willing to do this, but
we'll go through all your grades.
Not where I super want to be. I'm glad it's over.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'd rather be in the forest.
I know. I was doing fine, learning things.
Yeah. Oh, man. But I actually, in the end, I'm kind of glad that I got a few of the programming information. Always came to math for me. I'm terrible. Okay, well, for anyone who has not encountered Miracle Nutrition yet out there, I highly recommend that you...
Yes.
Didn't I say earlier I can't actually recommend
Please,
it?
highly recommend.
I highly, yes.
Listen, yeah.
I highly recommend it to everyone.
If you think you'll hate it, don't listen.
Yeah.
Because some people know, they go, oh, I'll listen, but I know I don't like stuff like that. Well, don't then, because it's probably going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just give it to someone else so you can share it with someone else, even if you're not going to listen.
The best thing is if you get ambushed by it because you just have the radio on and you're driving through New York City and you're like,
oh, that must be freaking amazing.
I've heard from a couple of those people there because I was driving through New York and I came into your show in the middle and then I drove out before it was over. And I don't know what I just heard. And I was like, oh, that's so great. That's like a dream. That really is a dream for me. That's what I wanted.
I have to say, sometimes I listen to your show that way.
Yeah, no, it's intended. It's intended to you that you can come in, listen to 15 minutes of it in the middle and leave, and it should be just fine.
Yeah, well, I mean, that is when I'm not gone into some like. Sometimes I'll just lay down and fall asleep with it there.
Right. I mean, it's I meant it to be fractally, where everything any part contains like the gist of the whole. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah,
and ideally,
it is inviting.
It's brilliant that way.
It is brilliant. Yeah, there's no question about it.
No, that happens. That happens when you don't plan anything. It's just the natural state of things if you don't impose order on them.
Yeah, and that's which is kind of weird because when you're doing it in music, you're not imposing order, but order as you're saying with what you're doing. Because I'm not as familiar with improv. Well,
it's like unpainted. I just got this great comparison. It's like unpainted wood. It's like I could paint the wood and you'd go, oh, that's a beautiful paint job. It's so great. That's a beautiful color blue. But if I don't paint the wood, and then I can go like, look at the intricate patterns in this wood grain. Yeah. And yet I didn't do anything. All I did is not paint it. I'm just showing you the wood when I don't mess it up.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Right.
And my favorite stuff.
Showing you the thing without me putting, if I wanted to put a story on it, no, let me show you why the wood is beautiful by painting over it. That's as ridiculous to me. I will just show you the wood grain. We will show you the way, the unfettered human mind. And then that should do it.
It does.
Look at a brain. Brains are cool. Just look at mine. Mine's like everybody else's. Just look at mine when there's nothing in it, and you'll see how beautiful the brain is.
You'll see the beautiful brain.
the wood grains in my
Of
head.
course, yeah. Oh my goodness. That is it. Thank you so much for joining us again. In my mind, I want to do some other semi-planned, unplanned thing with you in the future, but my brain goes, no, just be blessed with what you have. But I'm like, I want to do some actual work not work, but other types of stuff.
Oh yeah. I love to collaborate. I love to do things with people like that. That's a good, I've always got, sometimes it never actually happens, but it's always in the planning stages. Cause I love to, for me, like that's my favorite way to interact with friends. Even my closest friends were always ostensibly working on something.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't, sometimes it's just eating lunch, but really we're doing a bigger project. It's just how much actual work on the project we do varies. But we always get together with like a purpose. It feels good.
Man, yeah.
The way people did it when they put up barns.
Yeah.
They're together and there's fellowship, but they're actually doing some, they're using each other's talents and energy to do a greater thing, to be greater together.
Yeah, because everybody has something really neat to offer to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you just don't know where it's going to go other than the barn gets up. Like you said.
Right, exactly.
You cannot think, and as much as you do, folks. And
yeah,
and actually get much done. You don't have to retain that much. Oh my goodness, now I've forgotten, but
yay, you forgot. I forgot what we talked about.
I forgot.
We already said goodbye and I forgot.
Yes.
But I'll thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. And I look forward to working on a project in the future with you.
Let's.
All right. That's so wonderful. Oh my goodness.
My heart rejoices in all of this.